I know that you all have been, I'm sure, on social media or on the news. You see it. It's everywhere you look. Shocking images and videos of Hurricane Ian after it devastated Florida yesterday. It's the fifth most powerful storm to ever hit the state. All over Southwest Florida, residents and officials are getting their first look at the destruction from the storm in cities like Tampa, Fort Myers, and Naples. Now, check out this time-lapse video from a webcam in Fort Myers, where you see the storm surge rushing in, completely flooding streets and parking lots. The surge completely wiped away homes and buildings like this one in Naples that just floated away. The storm also swept away this yellow McLaren worth well over $1 million. Tampa police are warning residents to stay off the streets and stay indoors in case something like that happens. A street light crashing down. Also, check out what appears to be a shark swimming in the streets of this Fort Myers neighborhood. Another good reason to stay inside. All over Florida, residents are finding out the extent of the damage to their homes and livelihoods. Some who had evacuated are only now finding out if they even have homes to return to. Thousands more are still waiting to be rescued. Okay, can you imagine? I know you've been in a hurricane category 4, Al, but I just want to give you some more statistics. 2.5 million people without power. That list is growing. The death toll is projected to be in the hundreds. There have been 5 confirmed deaths, but again, in the hundreds. And finally, there are reportedly thousands of people waiting to be rescued. Does this, seeing those images, is that similar to what you experienced?
Absolutely. You know, and I was in Miami, which is on the other coast, but when I first started my comedy career, these cities like Naples and Port Charlotte and Sarasota, all those cities, Marco Island, all those cities, those are cities that I performed in. And ironically, in 2004, I did a benefit in Port Charlotte for Hurricane Charlie, which hit Fort Myers and devastated that area. So it just seems like, you know, every decade or so, one of these storms comes through and just...
It's more frequent than that. And I just want to say that because this is the 5th strongest hurricane to hit the U.S. Last year's Hurricane Ida was tied with it. But then if you look at like 2022, 2021, 2020, those are all the top storms in history, and they're in the last few years alone.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say other than, you know, obviously we're thinking about our friends and family and all of those who are affected by the storm. You know, obviously a lot of people chose to stay back, and we talked about some of the reasons why people choose to do that, but I sincerely hope that the death toll is a lot less than what they're projecting at this point.
But when you live there, someone like that, like Sam said, we do this every hurricane season. It's hurricane season for a reason because they go through it every season. Is there some sort of normalcy? I know this is a bad one in the top 5, right, but like, could you compare it in any way to, like, you grew up in Cleveland, I grew up in Chicago, right? We're prepared for when a winter storm hits. It's not as devastating as this, but if a winter storm hit in North Carolina, where my wife is from, shuts down the city.
That's what happened.
Right?
One hit Mississippi and it shut down everything.
Yeah, is there any sort of preparation, like this is just normal, we're going to get through this attitude when you live down there, or is it always devastation?
You know, one of my best friends in the world lives kind of close. He's in more like Central Florida, and he was telling me, you know, he's putting up shutters. There's shutters and stuff that you can put up. And he said there were some neighbors making some comments that really reminded me of the mask comments. They're like, what are you doing? Like, come on, we don't do that here. There is a little bit of sometimes when people don't leave, sometimes it's financial, but sometimes there's a little bit of like, I'm from here. Yeah. It's almost like if somebody from Minnesota, you were like, hey, you should prepare for the storm. Like, my family's from here. My grandpa, like, I know how to deal with the storm. There is a little bit of hubris that sometimes is scary because it's all good until it's not. Right. And when a storm like this hits, like I said, when we watch that traffic light fall, that's what really it resonates with me more than anything. We see the images of the rushing water, but it's what goes on after. It's the fact that there are no traffic lights that work. There's the banks aren't open. The gas stations that are all based on they're all electrical, so they work, but they pump out like 1 cent, 2 cents, so they take forever. So the lines at the gas station are a mile long. People are fighting at the grocery store. People are fighting at the gas station. It really tears apart a community. Some people never come back. People are displaced. Katrina, I mean, how many people left New Orleans? So it's a whole thing. Hurricanes are a natural disaster, but they're a different thing because they last for months and even years later.
I just That is horrifying, but that's well said. I think people need to understand that the recovery is going to take quite some time. Okay, I want to hear your opinion on this. This completely, I could not believe it when I read it. A Florida CEO for a postcard company is getting called out. She urged her staff to work through the storm because she thought it was going to be a quote-unquote Nothingburger and was being overhyped by the media. She even told them to bring their kids and pets. She said she didn't want the end of the quarter to be ruined because people left work. Well, after the backlash, the CEO did end up closing the office on Wednesday and converted it into a shelter. But the question is, what do you do if your boss is telling you to work through something like this? I want to give you some more context. So she Zoomed them from her car. Many of the employees, I can't confirm this, but many of the employees assuming that she was leaving the town, right? Leaving the city. So not only did she zoom in remotely and tell them they all need to stay, she's obviously visually leaving, but she also said, you may lose power, and if you lose power, you still have to clock in those 40 hours, so you're gonna have to find a way to make it up, whether you lose power or not.
I would have, last week we knew the storm was coming, I would have sent her a postcard saying, I'm not coming to work. That's what I would have did to her. No one got the joke because she owns a postcard company.
Yeah. No, I
Thanks
did.
for following.
I
know, thank you for that.
Jeff, you told a couple jokes that were so good that I was about to answer like a nerd. Like, I agree, sir. Like, that was, first of all, it was a great joke. And second of all, what's not funny, Erica, is, oh my goodness. How is this a human being? I mean, you say that, oh, I'd quit, and I'd like to think that I could, but if you've got a couple kids
for sure,
or a mortgage, this whole, that whole Tom Cruise, who's coming with me, at the end of Jerry Maguire, that doesn't work for a lot of people. And now you just know that, first of all, you have to find a way to now clock in those 40 hours, and you also know that your boss could care if you live or die, which is also interesting, Erica.
Yeah, well, first of all, who's coming with me was at the beginning.
I was going to correct him, too. I was going to say something about
who's coming with me? That's the thing. It's like the humanity, and the idea that people have to choose between the security, the actual physical security of themselves and their family, and the security of the monetary side. That is a very tough choice for millions of Americans. But at the end of the day, you already see exactly what the backlash is. She is going to feel the effects and repercussions of her actions, and if anyone it were to sustain any type of injury, she's liable for that.
Yeah. Wow, I know. Okay, so we're going to end this with a little bit of a silver lining, showing one of the silver linings of a very horrible storm. People helping people. Naples Fire Department posted this video showing them rescuing folks from a car that got stuck in floodwaters. Wow. And check out all of these Orange County firemen rescuing residents from a nursing home in Orlando, getting them out as floodwaters were rising this morning. And the Cajun Navy, which is a group of volunteers who perform rescues, is already at work in Florida. They said they've already performed between 20 to 30 rescues. So, this is devastating, but to see the humanity, right, the juxtaposition of that CEO is something to remind us that our neighbors, treat them with respect. And I think in this country where everybody's divided, it's nice to see some unity despite the horrific circumstances.
Yeah, tragedy brings people together, and we don't show it every day. But I would say 90% of our country and the world is good people doing good things for other people. Nobody wants to see that every day, but you do see it on display when something tragic happens, 9/11, a hurricane, any sort of destruction. You see the humanity and people loving people. And we need to be reminded of that sometimes, even in the shadow of a devastation like that.
You said that way better than me. I did not articulate my thoughts as well as you did.
And that's not good for you.
I know. I had an out-of-body experience where I was listening to me and I was like, oh gosh, somebody jump in.
If I'm articulating better than you, you need to work on that.
I know. I understand.